Hello and welcome to the Faces of Africa Pocket Edition, where we dissect and discuss the topics covered in our weekly documentary show, which takes you through the continent's history, cultures, and major issues through exploring great personalities. This week on Faces of Africa podcast, we're talking about cycling in Africa. We're taking you to Eritrea, where that country has produced one of the best cyclists in the world. I am Fathiya Mohammed and I have here
Kimani Mungai.
Hi Kimani.
Hi Fathiya.
You're good?
Good.
All right. I think watching this documentary for me was very interesting because first off, Eritrea is not a country that we hear a lot about, but cycling from Eritrea has been something that has been celebrated for a very, very long time. One thing I really enjoyed about it is the fact that they give a bit of a history of how cycling came into that country through the Italians, who are basically colonizing the country, and it came in exchange of postal stuff, right? And seeing that the Eritreans picked up this, and they were calling it machines at that time. But initially, they didn't actually like the bicycles. There's a certain word they were using, and they were linking it to the devil because they didn't think bicycles were anything of good. But over time you see that they get into the competition of cycling, and it has really propelled the country to another level. That's what I really enjoyed watching the documentary, is that history. A part of it is how people came to love it and what it actually means to Eritreans. What did you enjoy about it?
I think what I picked up, just as you mentioned, is the cycling culture in the country. I'd say cycling is very huge in Eritrea because of the heritage, history behind it, and also the climate and the topography. It's very mountainous, that it encourages cycling and offers very nice circuits to do cycling. And I think this is what has led Eritrea to be a leader in cycling on the African continent.
Right. I totally agree with what you're saying in terms of even the topography of Asmara, but let's come back to actually what you've mentioned just right now about Eritreans going now to the world circuit, that is Tour de France. The documentary actually now introduces Daniel Teklehaimanot, I hope I pronounced it right, and just his story. Of course, he's been coached by previous cyclists who are already in Eritrea, but his story is quite beautiful in how he gets into it. And he actually at some point wins, when he's in France, actually he wins the King of the Mountain classification, that's what they called it. And he managed to wear the polka dot jersey. What did you think of that?
It's I think a cyclist tradition where once you win a certain section, and for Daniel in this case, he won, as you mentioned, the polka shirt, the red and white polka shirt, which titles you or honors you as the king of the mountain. Right. And it's very befitting because also that's the name of our documentary.
Yes.
Faces of Africa, King of the Mountains. And seeing an African and a black man, for that matter, son of the soil, son of the continent, win or get a prestigious award in such a big event is very, very encouraging and very inspiring.
Now, him being the king of the mountain, Daniel, I think that what was interesting to see is also the fact that he was at home, and usually in Eritrea, it's almost every Sunday that they even have like those races every weekend. And you see a lot of young people in the race. They are competing. And this particular race, we see Daniel coming in, and he's among the cyclists. And people, of course, know who he is. And he's a part of a certain team that's also, participating in the cycling. I think the expectation is that he would top and become number one, but we see that his bike actually crashes at some point, and he ends up being the third. But what I really liked is immediately after that, he went immediately and just congratulated his team member who actually won the first place.
It was very sportsmanlike for him to concede and congratulate his other fellow competitors who were better than him, and he acknowledged that. That's very sportsmanlike of him, and also it encourages the younger generation. It inspires them to want to get into the sport.
Yeah.
And I think from such events that are held locally, have been ingrained in the culture, continue to create an influx of athletes who wants to take and participate in the sport, therefore growing the sport further in the country and also on the continent. Because I think for Daniel, he runs for Dimension Data. That's a team
Yes.
that has, among other African nationals, has about 4 or 5 Eritreans last I checked.
Yeah.
And what this team does is to sponsor them for the different world circuits that are held, be it in France, Portugal, Southeast Asia and all, to compete. And I think the main goal and what we are seeing with the cycling on the continent is we are soon going to have an African champion, hopefully.
Exactly. In terms of like the future of cycling in Africa, we see South Africa is also getting into it, or has been big into it, but Rwanda is coming up, right?
Yeah. Tour de Rwanda has been attracting participants from all over the world. And I feel this continue to reinforce or grow the sport on the continent.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that now it's going to take it international and it becomes a global affair.
Yes.
And I think it's a very unique, sports to have in Africa.
It is.
Right. All right. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Kim. I think this has been interesting. I want to encourage the viewers to really watch this episode because it's a feel-good kind of episode. The visuals are also beautiful. Eritrea actually looks really, really good. So if you don't know much about that country, actually, when you watch that documentary, you learn a lot. Remember, you can watch this documentary on our CGTN platforms. On Sunday, it runs live at 12:30 East Africa time, 17:30 Beijing time, and 9:30 GMT. On Monday, it will be uploaded on our YouTube channels. See you next time.